G'day folks, it's Rob here, and in today's clip I'll be running through some of the results we received looking at the nutrient deficiencies in the water of the aquaponics system and just running through a bit of an experiment that I'll be trialling to see if I can boost up some of the micro elements that are missing from the system. And I'll also run through the common additives people like to use to not only adjust pH but address common deficiencies that most people will see in their aquaponics system. So I'll stop nattering on, flip the camera around, and we'll get into it. So just to bring you up to speed, a couple of weeks back I sent 500 millilitres, roughly 2 cups for you folks in the States, of system water up to Hortus Analytical in Bundaberg, and they did a hydroponic water test on the available elements within the system. The only issue I have with this is it is missing molybdenum, which is another element that can be a bit of a problem if you don't have it present in your water. I think I can pay for that extra, which I might look at doing next time around. So these are the figures, and yeah, they give you basically a parts per million result, and then they also give you the optimal range, and then they give you some comments of whether it's high, low or optimal or whatnot. Now what makes it easier is they also send you a coloured bar graph just to give you a better indication of what's missing and what's not. So I'm not too worried about the pH and the EC. Mainly because hydroponic water is running a little bit lower pH wise than aquaponics, and likewise EC, we're not looking at dissolved mineral salts, but you can see that between the N and the NH4, ammonium, nitrogen and ammonium, we have a fair amount there in the system, more than enough to send it into the optimal range. We are low on phosphate, potassium, calcium, magnesium, loads of sodium in the system, which is understandable because we do salt for fish health. You can see the sulfur is low, the zinc is way above, not too sure why that is. The copper is pretty much all in the optimal range. Manganese is low, iron is low, boron is just in optimal, chlorine is way above. We definitely do have a few issues with the elements in the system. So before I start waffling on about the nutrients, I thought I'd let you know that down in the description there's a number of links to websites and maybe a PDF in there as well, I think, that run through the elements required for healthy plant growth as science understands them at this point in time. And I'll also include a link to e-Gro, I think they're called. There's a video here on YouTube they've posted, thanks to Matthias for pointing it out to me ages ago. And what it does is it runs through the deficiencies in plants and how you can pick them up just by the way the leaves look, whether there's some necrotic spotting or some interveinal chlorosis and that sort of thing. So all those links are down there. You can have a click through them at the end of the video if you want to learn some more. So thought I'd just let you know that. So a lot of these micro elements, meaning elements that the plants don't need a lot of, as you can see down here, their requirements are fairly low. They can be looked after with an additive I'll talk about in a minute. But there are 4 major ones that you may find deficient. 2 of the definite ones would be potassium and calcium, mainly because the fish assimilate the majority of what's in their feed of those 2 elements, so it doesn't make it through to the plant side of things. The next one on the list would be iron. Some iron makes it through, but a lot of people do find they need to supplement some iron into their system, especially if they're growing a lot of leafy greens. And the 4th one is magnesium. Again, you can find that you will need to supplement it from time to time. Now, with 2 of them, that's calcium and potassium, there's 2 very easy ways you can add it into the system. Just to back up a step though, with your aquaponic system, the nitrification process, as those bacteria convert the ammonia all the way through to nitrate, they use up some of the alkalinity in the water. Now what that does is that lowers the pH of the water, so you need to add in a buffer to bring it up. Now luckily, the calcium and potassium come in forms where we can add them in to get both a calcium addition and a potassium addition to the system, at the same time adding some buffering agents. In calcium, I use a hydroxide, and that helps raise the pH. And with the potassium, I use a potassium bicarbonate, and that helps boost the pH as well. So these 2 elements are pretty much well looked after on a day-by-day basis as I add them into the system. Now just quickly, people are going to ask how much do I add of each. Potassium bicarbonate is something I'm just newly playing around with, so I can't tell you on that one, but I can tell you I'm feeding roughly about 150 grams worth of feed a day at the moment, and I think it is a 38% or maybe a 40% protein feed, and I'm finding at least every second day I'm having to put 2 heaped teaspoons of the calcium hydroxide in to bring the pH into a stable range between 6.5 and 6.8. Now, keep in mind that's my system, unique to the fish food I'm using and the beds that I've got on the grow. So it's one of those things, all I can tell you is what I use. You're going to have to work it out for yourself with a little bit of trial and error. So anyway, that looks after potassium and calcium. So the next major element that I add in is iron chelate. Now this is DTPA chelate, which means it's basically a form of chelated iron that is available in the pH range that I like to use. There's a few different types around. DTPA looks to be the best all-rounder for us folks in aquaponics. Luckily enough, you can get iron test kits like this one here in Australia. I'm sure there's ones overseas as well. And I try to keep my iron in the range of between 1 and 2 parts per million. So a little spoonful of this goes in probably around about once a month into every bed, just to try and keep it in that range. Now the next one is magnesium, which most people will add in just the basic sulfate, which is Epsom salts. Now this one here, there is no easy to get test for it. So with this one, what I've been doing is adding in probably about a heaped teaspoon every 2 to 3 weeks. And I've also started to do a supplemental spray, just a foliar feed with this as well, once a week, just to try and boost the levels, because I'm fairly sure I have a magnesium deficiency in the system, which, yeah, strangely enough is borne out by the results of this test here. So yeah, that's another one that you may find. Now, as for all the micro elements, yeah, no testing is available cheaply. By the way, this test cost me $80, fairly sure, plus postage. So it's not something I'll be doing every week, I can tell you that. I'll probably do it every couple of months, just to see how it's going while I'm trying some new additives. But yeah, back to these micro elements. About the best product that I've found to date is this one here, which is a kelp additive. Now it's got 60 vital nutrients for better plant health and growth, and it also comes with 16% potassium. So this was my main potassium additive before I bought a large bag of the bicarb. I think because I've been adding the bicarb, the plants basically haven't been getting their micronutrients. So I've started to dose with this again as well. Dosage rate for this is every second week. I was putting a heaped teaspoon under the inlet of every bed, and that's pretty much what I've gone back to this week after getting this report. And yeah, so that's one way you can boost your micro elements, and it's totally fish safe. Now there's another additive that I'm keen to try. I've actually bought a bag the other day, and this product is by Earthlife, just west of here at Toowoomba. It's a microbial rock minerals additive. So it's basically your standard rock mineral blend. I forgot to quiz him when I was there the other day as to the actual source of his rock minerals, but he's got 30 microbes in there that will help make elements available to the plants and basically improve soil life in general. Now, I'm popping it into aquaponics, so my theory is that if I add that in there, it might add some extra beneficial bacteria and microbes in there that will help to make some of the organic matter that makes it through the filter plant available. So I do know that it's not recommended as such for aquaponics because he hasn't had it scientifically tested, but I have heard of a number of folks that do add it to their system. So I'll just give you a bit of a look on the bag there of what it's got in there. It's got some nitrogen and nitrate, some phosphate, potassium, calcium, magnesium, silica, iron, sulfate. It's got a load of organic matter, which I'm not too worried about being in the grow beds. That not enough will be in there to cause a problem the way I run the system. Plus it's got 60 other micronutrients. So this is something, like I said, I'm only going to be doing as a trial just to see how it goes. What I'll be adding in is pretty much his recommendation, 600 grams per metre squared. But I will be doing it over time. Now I have done a little bit of a test on this stuff here, just to see what its ammonia and nitrite readings are, because both those things can be toxic to the fish and I don't want to overdose the system. And what I found was in the ratios that I'll be adding it to the system, I would end up with round about 2 milligrams per litre or parts per million of ammonia going into the system, no nitrite. So what I've decided to do is actually cut down the 600 grams and add it in small batches. So that's the plan. We'll see how that goes. And then after a couple of weeks, I'll send some more water off and we'll get it tested and see how this stuff has gone. So that's the plan for now. So yeah, it's all a little bit of an experiment. And yeah, I definitely don't want you folks to run out and buy this. It is a little bit expensive. I bought a larger bag because I'm using it in the wicking beds and I've been very impressed with how it's worked down there. So I will be using it elsewhere. Yeah, it's just a bit of a test for now as far as it goes with the aquaponics, just to see if we can boost up some of these micro elements. So yeah, don't run out and try it yourself unless you want to take the responsibility of what happens if things go pear-shaped. So that's enough about nutrient deficiency. I can't really show you the fish at the moment, but I did pop the action cam in, so they are looking fairly healthy. I have noticed there's 1 or 2 fish in there that biff all the time, so I'm keeping an eye on them, making sure they don't injure each other and cause infections and that sort of thing. But yeah, generally pretty happy with the way they're going and the way they're feeding. I did mention they're getting about 150 grams of feed a day, and yeah, once things warm up a bit, I'll take them out, weigh them, and then adjust accordingly. The plants in the system, a lot of them have bounced back since I started spraying with magnesium. You can see this old lettuce still has damage on her, but that's fine. The only reason I'm keeping her in here is because she is creating a lot of seeds. So we will be sprinkling some of these cos or romaine lettuce seeds through the system. I'm also working on a clip for those siphons still, just ran out of time this week. I have noticed that the beetroot is starting to bounce back as well since I started spraying. We've harvested a number of the pak choi out of there. They've already gone into meals. We've got a couple that are starting to flower, so they'll have to come out tonight. That one there, and also this big beauty over here. Look at the stem on that. Yeah, this one will have to come out tonight as well. I'll have a bit of a stir fry. Just around the downpipe here, the water celery is yeah, starting to green up. It's the little yellow edges have started to disappear. A lot of the beets are looking better as well. The lettuce are doing fine, so pretty chuffed about that. Some of these beets are looking a bit wilty because I've taken the standpipe out of this one just for the time being. Down here we have a couple of beets that do need to come out, and this warrigal green will be coming out. I'm not really happy with its placement as it's growing right around where the water inlet is, and that's where I put a lot of the additives in, so it needs to come out. Plus it's strangling these poor beetroots down here as well. And as you can see, yeah, these green onions or shallots really do like the aquaponics. Just to look at my thumb against the stalk there, it's probably twice as wide, so they really do love it in here. Just in this other bed here, I'll give you a bit of a look at these guys. These are the carrots that I sowed out the other week. They're a Manchester table carrot. I did post a picture to YouTube and Facebook about these guys. A lot of people saying you're going to end up with gnarly carrots. I have grown them in the aquaponics before. The first batch were a bit gnarly, but yeah, after that they all pretty much will come out like normal carrots. The one thing I have noticed though is they come out a lot hairier, a lot more roots on them from the aquaponics than they do in the soil. Got a couple of lettuce in there, and that marigold's flowering nicely. Also popped in some more green onions that we chopped the greens off, used them in a meal, and then popped them in there. The mizunas are looking really good, and so the bok choys around this side here. This one here really does need to come out. He's a nice size, nice and healthy. And we have some more down here that could probably come out very soon as well. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way the system's going. One thing I will explain though is I do think that I've overplanted the beds. As I said before, 150 grams of feed is going into the system. Generally 60 to 100 grams is enough to grow 1 square metre of grow bed, which is what these IBCs are. And I effectively have 4 square metres here. So even though the nitrate is still through the roof, very red on the test, we do have issues obviously with the other elements, and that's why we're getting deficiencies turn up. So it is all a bit of a balancing game, and as I learn more about the finer details of balancing the elements, I will yeah, keep you up to date on the clips here. It is all a learning process. Throw a bit of feed in for these fish as we finish off here. As I said at the start of the clip, this isn't a definitive how-to on nutrients in aquaponics. Just a look at the deficiencies in my system at this point in time, bit of a snapshot, and some of the methods I'll be using to try and rectify those deficiencies. If you want to be kept up to date on how it goes with the future water tests and all that, all you need to do is click on that subscribe button down there and hit the bell icon once it appears, and hopefully YouTube will send you notifications when those clips are uploaded. I would like to thank you all for coming along though, and checking out these clips, and leaving your comments down below. Always like to read what you guys have to say, and if you do have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down there. Don't take offense if I don't follow them. I get loads of suggestions on what I should do with the system all the time, but yeah, it would be great to hear from you, methods that you've used to boost nutrients and that sort of thing. Also too, don't forget the sources that I've linked down in the description below as well. Special thanks quickly to those awesome folks who helped us out over on the Farm Your Own Yard supporters site and also the YouTube membership page. Thank you very much, folks. And it'd be great if you could also check out our super contributors down in the description below. Thank you very much, folks. But I will leave it there. Do hope you're all well and happy, and I will catch you next clip. Cheers, folks. Have a top one.